Can Justin Gaethje fucking beat Conor McGregor? Welcome back, everybody. It is the Ginger and the Bear. So one of our favorite fighters, two of our favorite fighters, right? Justin and Conor have been talking about smashing that like button for the YouTube algorithm.
It's true. They've tweeted about it, both of them.
Absolutely.
They're
for
both
our channel specifically.
Like Gab's videos if you love McGregor or Gaethje.
But we're here to break down, does Justin Gaethje have even a slight chance of beating Conor McGregor?
Man, do you think the fight's going to happen? Do you think it's going to happen? Like, because that's the main thing. Like,
well, I think that if Conor doesn't think that he can get the Khabib fight without fighting one of the top five,
which he can't. Like, if Khabib wins, I don't think Conor is gonna think he can get it. But at the same time, if Khabib beats Tony, I'm like, who's next?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't know.
Or, isn't that weird though? Yeah. Like that lightweight is kind of, there's not like a perennial contender like Tony Ferguson who you really say deserves it.
Right.
It would have been Poirier, but he already lost. It would have been McGregor just because he was the lineal champ. He lost. I don't think Gaethje's done nearly enough. And to be fair to Gaethje, everybody he's fought in his win streak up to this point has then fell off a damn cliff.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, dude, your claim to the title shot looked great about a year and a half ago. Now it's not looking so hot.
So you can either make the argument that Justin Gaethje fucked these people up so much that they now have a cracked jaw and they are not able to weather the storm that they could have weathered before him, but that's not the case.
Yeah, he caught people on their downswing already, and you can back that up by their past performances. The reputation just had not yet caught up to those fighters. James Vick, Cowboy Cerrone. That being said, I think it is going to happen. I think it is going to happen because I think it makes sense for both guys in this instance. It makes, let's be real, right? Let's be really, really honest. It makes sense for any fighter on the roster within 3 weight classes either way of McGregor to take a McGregor fight at any time. That's just the truth.
I agree.
Unless you're Cowboy Cerrone, and I don't know how his manager negotiated for a $500,000 flat payment with no pay-per-view points, because that guy should be fired. But for any other fighter on the roster with a competent management team, it is a career-defining payday. So it makes sense for Gaethje. At any time, it makes sense for Gaethje. It would, I mean, just from a legacy standpoint, beating McGregor does everything. From a fan standpoint, from a popularity standpoint, it would explode him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he has such a fan-friendly, like the promotional videos would be amazing for Gaethje.
Even if Gaethje loses, I think he'll get a lot of fans. Yep. Honestly, and that would set up the match with Khabib perfectly. But if Gaethje beat McGregor, I would be hyped for a fight with Khabib, 100%. And I think for McGregor, like you said, Khabib has started tweeting at him and sort of talking about him and talking about fighting him again, which if I'm McGregor and his team, I'm viewing that as a big step forward. Yep. Because before...
It was like, you've got to beat somebody. If you don't beat anybody, you're not fighting me
he's
again.
saying that. Now he's saying he needs to beat somebody in the top 5.
Oh, I thought he's been saying that before.
No, bro. Before, he was like, I'm not going to say his name. I'm never going to fight him again.
That's interesting.
Now Khabib, when he's talking, he's at least open to the possibility of a match happening if McGregor does certain things.
Yeah.
That's a big narrative change from what was happening a year ago.
That's right.
So I think for McGregor, it makes sense. Like, Gaethje is the guy. Even fans have been talking about this fight for... Hardcore's like 6 months, 7 months.
But the thing is, this is the definitive thing of this whole entire video. Can Justin Gaethje fucking beat Conor McGregor?
I don't think so.
I don't. And it's a solid no. 100%.
I think Eddie Alvarez outstruck Gaethje.
Yeah.
Eddie Alvarez, who is, I still contend, one of the most underrated fighters and champions. One of the underrated. He's one of the GOATs at lightweight. He's multiple.
I wouldn't say GOAT.
One of them. Like, if there's a lightweight Mount Rushmore,
saying greatest of all time automatically means
I said one of the GOATs at lightweight. Like, if there's a lightweight Mount Rushmore, BJ Penn's on there, Eddie Alvarez is on there.
Khabib.
Khabib's on there for sure.
Yeah.
We'll see if Tony's on there.
No, Tony's definitely on there.
No, bro.
Tony's definitely on there besides fucking, what's his name? Fucking Alvarez. He's way before Alvarez.
No, Alvarez. No. Alvarez has held so many belts. He's had belts in like almost
other organizations.
Yeah, and
other organizations. That's like saying DC is one of the, because he held the strike force.
DC is for sure one of the.
No. But I mean with I just undercut my. Never mind. That's not fair because Tony just barely started fighting in the UFC. He didn't get to fight in other like crazy organizations.
That beast.
No,
We'll make a video about that. We'll have to make a whole video.
Okay,
on that. I don't even know where the hell we are at. Okay, Eddie Alvarez. Regardless of where you put him on an MMA Mount Rushmore, he's super underrated. He's a great fighter.
Yeah, he is underrated.
But he's not a great striker.
No.
He is not a great striker whatsoever.
And he fucked up
neither
JC
offensively or defensively is Eddie Alvarez a great striker.
100%.
Like he's a serviceable MMA striker in both aspects, but he's not a guy that you look at, you're like, oh wow, like his accuracy is amazing, his defense is tight, and Gaethje was soundly outstruck by him. It was a war to a degree, but I'd say Eddie Alvarez won every round, or it was like he won every exchange, but closely. Like he would land 7 to Justin's 5.
Yep.
And you look at the way that Conor McGregor was able to piece apart Eddie Alvarez, one of the greatest of all time title fight performances, and it was like...
And wrestling wasn't even a factor.
Wrestling was not even a
Wrestling
factor.
was not even a fucking factor.
And Gaethje doesn't wrestle. That's the other thing. And McGregor is a wonderful takedown artist, a takedown defense artist. Like, the only person... There's been 2 fighters to effectively take him down in the UFC, Mendez and Khabib.
Well, and it speaks to, like Uncle Chael's son, right?
Yeah.
He will always say that wrestling is such a... It's like swimming, right? Like I used to do a lot of swimming back in high school and stuff like that. And swimming, you lose it right away. And wrestling is the same way. If
you're not practicing that wrestling, if you're not wrestling all the time.
Well, and specifically, it's the chain wrestling that you lose. That's the first thing to go. And the thing about Conor McGregor is that a lot of people say, oh, well, he sucks at wrestling. He has amazing takedown defense. He has one of the best takedown defense, I would say arguably on par with Jose Aldo.
It's crazy.
It's crazy good. But the thing that guys are not good with when they don't have good when they have good takedown defense is that chain wrestling.
Especially chain wrestling against the fence. And that's what Khabib does. That's so like revolutionary. That's what he's brought to the game that's so different.
But you need to constantly practice that. Justin Gaethje is not an AKA. He's not continually to practice that art.
He's not a chain wrestler. Like I would even argue he's not even a wrestler, frankly. Like he is a wrestler. Like you can never say that someone who's a collegiate wrestler isn't a wrestler, but he's not like a wrestling based MMA fighter.
Yep.
And I don't, like, to your point, I don't think that he's going to come out and be able to chain wrestle and present that threat like Khabib did. And honestly, I think Khabib is a freak athlete that people don't get just because he's so herky-jerky. It doesn't look smooth. But to what you've mentioned before, where fighters are really good at striking in the long range and the mid-range, you have to be able to move through the mid-range and the long range to even get to McGregor. But McGregor's whole strategy is trying to make you move from the long range into the mid-range so he can catch you with the counter left. Gaethje doesn't have the same tools that Khabib does in order to navigate those dangerous waters to get through Conor's long range, let alone his middle range, and then put the pressure on him. Like, and to be honest, Khabib, I thought, was Conor was the one who actually took away his own range pretty regularly in the Khabib fight. Yeah. So that's the only way I could see Gaethje being able to capitalize on it.
Well, yeah, if he tries to attempt the takedown, but again, like my thing is that Justin Gaethje is going to get knocked.
I think so too.
Out.
I think so too.
He has been knocked out before, right? And
by Poirier and Alvarez.
By Poirier, who have great power, but. And I will say Poirier is a lot more precise than what he used to be.
I love Poirier.
Poirier's amazing. I love him. But
he's not McGregor.
But he's not Conor McGregor.
His striking offense is not McGregor.
No, it's not. And the thing with like,
it's like a battering ram versus a sniper.
The thing with Gaethje, if he had a nice straight jab that he could enter in on, but he doesn't.
He's got a high guard.
He has a high guard and he punches like this, right? And then he comes up with wide shit once he gets comfortable. And the thing is, a straight shot is always gonna beat wide shit. All day, every day. Gaethje's gonna get knocked out. He's gonna eat 3 of those counter left shots, and maybe even 1 will put him out.
Gaethje's whole style is predicated upon being able to walk forward with his forearms and elbows shielding and kind of his shoulders as well. and presenting a guard that a lot of MMA fighters aren't used to fighting, because this is super effective. It's very defensive, and most MMA fighters aren't used to being presented with multiple different kinds of guard. MMA striking kind of just is like this, and it's very square, and it's very uniform. Now we're starting to see a little bit of evolution, but Gaethje presents a problem. This when you can normally just jab straight down the line, this is now an issue. The difference is McGregor is one of the only MMA fighters that effectively reads his opponent's guards and changes his slot selection in order to get around them. You saw against Poirier, who also was trying to use a high guard. He literally just, instead of throwing his normal straight left, he started hooking, like long hooks. When have you ever seen McGregor throw a long left hook? Never. But he clouded it off of Dustin, and I think minus the D, it's going to be the same performance against Justin. This high guard is not going to be a problem for someone with good boxing. That's what boxers are used to, getting multiple different types of guards and working against them. Like, you can speak to that a lot more than I can.
No, absolutely.
Like we talked about it before. Like in
different
normal,
guards present different opportunities and different problems.
And that's what I think Justin has been banking off of. Just that MMA fighters, it's so uniform with the striking until recently, and like a boxing gym. 5 rounds in a boxing gym against different guys each round will probably give you more variety in the types of guards you're facing than 30 rounds in an MMA gym for striking.
So yeah, and so I mean, and this just is like summer up all the points. You know, nowhere do I see Justin actually being able to compete with Conor McGregor anywhere unless he starts training right now chain wrestling, because that is the Achilles heel in Conor McGregor, is that I can stuff the first takedown, but then I can't get the other.
Well, even with McGregor, he's so good. It's like, I can stuff 3, but you're going to get me with number 4. And another thing that a lot of people are saying is that Justin will be able to drag McGregor into deep waters. I question that. I really question that, because I don't think Gaethje is this cardio or attrition machine that can take damage like people think. Because the fights where he hasn't won very quickly, yeah, they've been incredibly exciting and he has absorbed a lot of damage, but he lost them. Like, if you ask people like, oh, why do you think that Gaethje will win? They'll be like, did you see the performance he put on against Dustin? Did you see the performance he put on against Alvarez? And it's like, yeah, those are great fights that he lost.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Justin has a higher threshold for absorbing damage. Yeah. I think the Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor 2, there was just as much of a war, I think.
Yeah.
And Conor came ahead and won that against a cardio freak.
And Nate Diaz has a fucking chin.
And fucking crazy cardio. Like, I don't think Justin has either the cardio or the chin that Nate Diaz does.
Right.
The only thing that he brings that Nate doesn't is going to be the wrestling threat and a bit more power, I think. And frankly, I think worse boxing defense.
Way worse boxing defense.
Way worse than Nate Diaz. That being said, guys, we both do not think Gaethje
has a prayer.
I think it's like an 80-20 fight. Like 80% McGregor, 20% Gaethje.
100%.
Honestly, I think that it'll make a lot more people happy, but I don't think that it's any less of a squash match than Cowboy, except for the rankings.
Yep.
That being said, Ginger
and the Bear,
chime off down below. Tell us how you're wrong, because if you disagree with us, we know you are. We will see you next time. Aye.